Hey everybody, this is Johnny Other, obviously. And I'm going to talk about Bill C-51 today, and more particularly about a lawyer named Andé Marin, who has been defending Bill C-51.
And yet, you were not wearing your necessary prescription eyeglasses.
They're reading glasses.
Now, Andé Marin recently wrote an article for the Toronto Sun defending C-51, which is a mini omnibus bill written by a collection of semi-anonymous feminist activists and academics, but officially written by Jody Wilson-Raybould, Canada's federal Liberal Defence Minister. Now, when I say it's a mini omnibus bill, what I mean is that it's got a whole bunch of innocuous-sounding provisions in it, like removing witchcraft and dueling from the criminal code, but it's also got an extremely dangerous addition to Section 276 of Canada's criminal code. And it's my opinion that all that is a distraction, so that when progressive media talk about this bill, they can pretend it's nothing but a benign update and modernization of the law. But in Andé Marin's defense of C-51, he makes a couple of false claims.
Hello, my name is Tommy Flanagan, and I'm a member of Pathological Liars Anonymous. In fact, I'm the president of that organization.
Marin claims that because text messages and emails and video recordings were in their infancy in 1992 and 93, if they even existed at that time, they were not then included in the language of the criminal code. He further claims that if Canada's rape shield provisions, which is 276, were drawn up today, of course text messages and emails would be included, and the law being changed now, or being proposed to change, is merely being updated to reflect advances in technology. Well, in 1983, the first commercial public email service began running on the TCP/IP Internet Protocol. And when I began working professionally in the technology field, which was in 1990, email was universally common in business and personal computing. But Andé Marin claims that email, if it even existed in 1993, it did, that he says this is just keeping the law current with modern technology.
This too is false.
Section 276 of the Criminal Code presently states the following. In proceedings in respect of an offense, evidence that the complainant has engaged in sexual activity, whether with the accused or with another person, is not admissible to support an inference that by reason of the sexual nature of the activity, the complainant is either more likely to have consented to sexual activity that forms the subject matter of the charge, the offense, or is less worthy of belief. Well, the addition Mr. Marin is talking about, supposedly to update the criminal code to reflect the advent of email, is this. For the purpose of this section, sexual activity includes any communication made for a sexual purpose whose content is of a sexual nature. The words being used here are any communication. So communication of a sexual nature is being redefined to encompass all sexual activity. There's no reference to email or text or any format of video file. The words being added in Bill C-51 are any communication. So the purpose of the addition is very clearly not a technological update. A lawyer, speaking with the authority of a lawyer and an officer of the court, is lying to you in his capacity as a lawyer from the platform of a national journal, the Toronto Sun. The actual purpose is so that when a knowingly false accusation is made that would otherwise be blown out of the water, those love letters sent to you by your accuser will have to have been disclosed in advance of the trial to your accuser and to the Crown so that they can reformat their accusations to bypass your evidence, which you had to reveal in advance. This is, of course, only my opinion. I could be wrong. But what I know I'm right about is that the reason given by Andé Marin that Section 276 is merely being updated to reflect modern digital message formats, his reason, which he stated in the Toronto Sun, is a lie. Liar! It's very clearly a lie. The existing criminal code, as it stands now, does not define communications of a sexual act as a sexual act itself.
Are we fucking?
So you send an email about sex, saying let's have sex, or that was great sex, or let's have some more sex next week. That email is not defined as a sexual act in the present criminal code. Under Bill C-51, the proposed new law, it will be defined as a sexual act and will be excluded from evidence unless you submit it in advance. So Andé Marin is lying to you about the purpose of the law. You might think there's nothing you can do, but there is. You can file a complaint against Andé Marin with the Law Society. I filed mine today. Here's how you do it. Go to the complaints form on the Law Society of Upper Canada website. You can find that form by typing into Google the term Law Society of Upper Canada Complaints Form. The form is a fillable PDF document. For your complaint to be addressed by the Law Society, you need to be a Canadian citizen. You will need to provide your correct name and contact information to the Law Society. It's confidential, they won't give it out. You will also be asked to provide Andé Marin's name and his contact details. You can look up his office address of record on the Law Society website itself. And if you can't find the directory of lawyers from the site's navigation, just go back to Google, type the search term Law Society of Upper Canada Lawyer. Search that, you'll find the directory of lawyers. Now, there are quite a few lawyers whose last names are Marin, M-A-R-I-N. The one that you are looking for is Joseph André Paul Marin. Put his office and contact information into your fillable PDF complaint form. You will probably have to retype it. In most browsers, you can't copy-paste into the fields of the PDF form on that website. You will be asked what your relationship to Andé Marin is. My answer on my form was, I am a member of the public lied to by him about the content of proposed Bill C-51. You will be asked, did you hire this lawyer or paralegal? No, you did not. You will be asked, who does this lawyer or paralegal act for? You could probably leave this blank, but I put himself. The next question in the form is, how are you involved? My answer was, I am being lied to about the law by an officer of the court. And you will also be asked, do you have your own lawyer or paralegal? My answer was no. Yours might be yes. The next question you're going to answer on that form is, what area of law or legal services does your complaint relate to? Criminal. The next section is, does your complaint involve a matter before a court or a tribunal? The answer is no, it does not. And finally, we come to the section of the form in which you actually detail your complaint. Now, I'm not going to tell you precisely what to say because if you're filling out this form, it's your complaint. But I can offer you a couple of suggestions. First is, keep it as short as you can. The less elaborate detail that you include, the less reason you will be providing to have your complaint dismissed. And they do like to dismiss complaints because that's less work for them. So here is an example that you might like to work from, and the text of this will be in the description. Please don't just copy paste it. Write your own. But this is an example of what kind of thing I think is going to be effective. Andé Marin has used his position as a lawyer to lie to the public about the purpose of Bill C-51, 2017. In mine, I put 2017 because there's another law from 2015 also called C-51, and lots of people are very easily confused by that. So whenever I talk about this officially, I put 2017 next to it. Bill C-51 in brackets 2017 to avoid confusion. He has claimed in his July 8th Toronto Sun article that in addition to Section 276 is only to address the modern advent of email and text messaging. The language of the bill makes no mention of email or text messaging, and Mr. Marin is clearly attempting to deceive the public about the purpose of the proposed law. That's my whole description, or my example description that I put. I actually submitted this form, and that's not precisely what I put, so I don't want people exactly replicating what I did. You should paraphrase that if you're going to use it. Don't just precisely copy it, please. And my example here is 81 words. If you can make yours shorter, that's better. You'll be next asked what additional documents you will be sending. I recommend to you that you print off Mr. Marin's article from the Toronto Sun and include it. And in the field in the form here, you type out the saved file name of that document and maybe a descriptive statement saying Andé Marin's article published 8th July 2017 at Toronto Sun website. You will next be asked, what do you hope will happen as a result of your complaint? Your answer here should be a reasonable one. Don't say, I want him to be killed. Don't suggest that he should go to jail, because those are unreasonable suggestions. My answer to this question was, I hope that Mr. Marin will be reprimanded by the Law Society with sufficient force that he stops using his status as a lawyer to lie to the Canadian public about the content of the proposed law. That's as closely as I can guess what I want to have happen, and so that's what I typed. And then, of course, you sign this thing at the bottom, print it off, and then sign it. And you're going to mail it to the Law Society, along with printing off his article and including that. And that's all there is to it. Thanks very much for your kind attention, and as always, have a lovely day.
Don't lie to me.